Peace and blessings, family. My name is Jay, and I'm back at y'all today. With or better yet, I'm back with y'all today to talk with you about the planet Neptune and astrology. Yeah, and what the planet Neptune deals with. And so, with that being said, let's get into it. So now, the planet Neptune in astrology. There's so many different titles and their labels I could give to this planet. But if I were to give the planet Neptune like any title, any title, any label, I'd probably call Neptune the idealist. And that's what I call it. Others may call something different, but hey, we all got our own interpretations. That's all this is an interpretation. Just take it as my point of view, not But anyway, y'all know that by now if y'all made it to this point anyway. So just wasting my breath. So with that being said, let's get into it. Talk about Neptune, the idealist. So Neptune, the idealist. Well, obviously I call it the idealist because that is a part of what this planet deals with. It's a planet that is very idealistic, likes to deal with ideas. So we can also with ideas. What are ideas? Um, ideas are a form of creation. So this is also a planet that deals with being creative, having creativity, and then it's also a planet that deals with art, art and being artistic. And we're talking about being idealistic and creative. That can go hand in hand with art too when you think about it. So yeah, a lot of these things go hand in hand. But those are just a couple of things the planet Neptune deals with. The planet Neptune is also a planet that deals with it's also a planet that deals with our dreams as well. And did I say our imagination? If I didn't say that, yeah, it's a planet that deals with our dreams and imagination. So that's a couple of other things. So yeah, we talked about Neptune as a planet that's able to be that's very dream oriented and artistic, and imaginative, very very well, and that's it's a planet that deals with the subconscious too. But when we're talking about things dealing with like dreams and imagination, you could probably already get that anyway. So, yeah, but it brings more verification as to what this planet deals with. And since we know it's a planet that deals with the subconscious, we know it deals with like the emotions and feelings, and the and more so like the like the what's I'm looking for. And since we know that it deals with the emotions and feelings, it also deals with vibes too. So yeah, but we get on and on about that. Don't want to get too much into that. I kind of talk about that in the water element video. So yeah, we'll leave that there. But yeah, now that we talked about how Neptune is a planet that deals with our dream, our subconscious and our dreams and imagination, also our creative and artistic abilities and things like that, we can also talk about that this is a planet that also deals with this is also a planet that deals with being much like the moon and Pluto, but in a different way. It's also another planet that deals with being psychic receptivity, being receptive and sensitive to what's going on in the unseen realms, which you could already get that by default anyway because it's a water planet. But yeah, just another thing to add. But now, with other things with Neptune, Neptune truly is a spiritual planet because there are other things that are also associated with Neptune. Um, Other things that are associated with Neptune are like huge parts of spirituality, which are things dealing with being merciful and compassionate, self-sacrificing. So there's that as well that this planet deals with. And so yeah, those are like the positive things with this planet. But when you think about all those things, you can kind of see where the negative side of this planet comes out. Say like your dreams and imagination, for example. What happens when you get too lost in like your daydreams and imagination? You can get out of touch with reality. You can be you won't be grounded. Be all the way in the clouds. And if you don't like to say in the clouds, you can also say like in water, you could be drowning too. It's like polar opposites, but they ultimately both mean the same thing. So don't get too lost into the details of either one. Basically means that you can be either one. Basically means you're not grounded and you'll be out of touch with reality. So yeah, that's one negative. And then it's like with being merciful and compassionate. Sometimes you may be too merciful and compassionate to people who really don't deserve it, and they may be aware of that. And if they're not, so certain people might take advantage of that compassion. Use it against you. Look at it as a weakness, even though it's not. And then they get you into like they can get you into like a state of being that you don't want to be in. And then this is going to lead me to something else too that I want to get to in a minute, but let me stay focused. So yeah, talking about the mercy and compassion, you know, and a better way to say that actually is that when you're too merciful and compassionate, you can end up like feel like you're getting drained and overwhelmed. So you gotta watch that too. But what else can I add here? And then the thing with the that kind of goes hand in hand with like the psychic receptivity. That kind of goes hands in hand with like the sensitivity and receptivity a bit. And the intuition. Being picking up on the vibes and picking up on the vibes. And the thoughts and feelings of your surroundings, what's the people, places, and things that's giving them off in general. You know what I mean? So yeah. Now, in particular, going back to the thing I'm dealing with, going back to the part dealing with the dealing with being like emotionally overwhelmed and drained. Obviously it's going to lead to and then there's another thing too, because Neptune is also a planet that deals with dissolving boundaries, the dissolution of boundaries. And then since we know it deals with compassion, self-sacrifice, we can already tell this a planet that deals with not having boundaries anyway. But for the people who need more details, there's no right. Anyway, yeah, for the people who need more details, there you go. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, when you get into those states, when you get into those states where you get drained, overwhelmed, things like that, what does this lead to? This can also lead to other negative aspects of Neptune. And it's a watery planet, and watery people don't like to be confrontational. So what does this lead to? Um, it'll lead to like that escapism. Taking like certain, becoming codependent on like certain, on certain habits, or certain, certain, like certain, certain foods and beverages. That some people say intoxicants. It all means the same thing to me, so I don't really want to get too specific with it. But just becoming like codependent on certain, you know, people, places, and things. All those can turn to addictions, and but it's more so, if it's not reality, hell, even any of the addictions too can lead to one becoming like overwhelmed and drained. But I don't want to sound too confusing. But like I'm saying, yeah, when you since we know this is already a plan. This is already a planet that deals with the dreams and all that, and then when the reality gets too harsh, it's what leads to that being, the reality of what's actually going on becomes too harsh. That's actually what leads to the escapism and addictions and all that, and being codependent on certain substances and certain foods and all that, or certain habits to try to help you escape. But that's just going to make it more painful in the end, so you don't want to do that. And then also, this is that's how I want to say it. But anyway, with this too, when it comes to actually being aware of what's going on, but not want to confront it, say that you actually do try to confront it, it'll be done in such a manipulative way too, and deceitful way, because you don't want to be straightforward with it, because you fear the consequence of like direct action. So it's usually indirect. If you're a sensitive person, you know what I'm talking about. So I don't want to get too into that. But like I said, if you are Neptunian and not Neptunian, if you're like Piscean, because Neptune rules Pisces. This is why Pisces are very creative and artistic and very dreamy and imaginative as well. So the more you know. But if you're any of that, like I said, if you're any of that, you know what I'm talking about when I talk about this part. So yeah, don't want to get too lost into that. And now, uh, when we talk about the planet Neptune in the house, whatever, or in the sign as well, and you can interchange them because the houses rule over the signs. So I say Neptune in the 10th house is like Neptune in Capricorn, or Neptune in Leo is like Neptune in the 5th house. You get it? Anyway, moving on to that, and yeah, like I was saying, whatever house or sign you got Neptune in, this is where you're creative, like your creative and artistic abilities and your dreams and your dreams and imagination and all that, and your more compassionate spiritual side is going to come out the most. So yeah, I take it for example with me. I have my own placement Neptune and Capricorn in the first house. So when it comes to the first house, which is the house of self, and the house of self, and also the house of one's personality, for the most part, me having Neptune here, I tend to be very dreamy. I tend to be very dreamy a lot and imaginative, and also very and I tend to be very dreamy and imaginative a lot for the most part when it comes to things dealing with like my identity, and my um, and establishing who I am as a as my as my own self, pretty much. If you got Neptune in the first house, you know what I'm talking about. You can probably word it better than me too. But yeah, when it comes to my first house issues, what I'm here to do and all that, and my identity, I tend to it tends to be blurred a lot because Neptune is also a planet that's a watery planet. We know watery planets are very. We just know any planet that deals with water in a way is kind of can deal with being mysterious and um, misunderstood, and Neptune does it on a much more grand scale. So yeah, that can also be added here too. It's need to be very um, and then another way to look at it when I think about it is like when you do have dreams and imagination, it's like you're always wondering about what it is that you can make something into. So that's another way to look at it as well. I'm always wondering about who I am as an individual as well. But like I said, if you got Neptune in the first house and you're watching this, you get what I'm saying. So yeah. But anyway, moving on in the sign of Capricorn, uh, I, I remember that. But just say when it comes to our first house, this is don't forget that when it comes to the first house as well, um, this is we're gonna be regardless of what our identity may be, it's always gonna have that spiritual touch to it as well. So yeah, and then yeah, moving on to sign of Capricorn. Uh, I don't know. Anyway, moving on to the sign of Capricorn with Neptune and Capricorn. When it comes to things dealing with your spirituality and your imagination, your creative artistic abilities, and being compassionate, all those Neptunian traits, characteristics, you're going to do them through the Capricorn energy, which is Saturn energy. So it means you're going to be that just means that you're going to be very responsible, and you're going to be very responsible and focused, and um, mature when it comes to things dealing with your spirituality and your imagination. And then if you want to think of like Neptune, if you want to think of like Neptune and Capricorn, if you were to ask me to put it in like simple terms and to not get into the details with it, I say Neptune and Capricorn are 10th house. I say dreams become reality. Dreams become reality. Spiritual, spiritual career, spiritual entrepreneurship, spiritual business, things like that. So yeah, hell, I feel like I explained that one better than Neptune in the first house. But it is what it is. So I'm not gonna beat myself up over it. Everything's a learning experience. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, you guys, this is my take on the planet Neptune and astrology. As I always say, if you like this, feel free to give it a like. But more so importantly, which matters more to me, is that if you have any criticism or feedback to help me grow so I can serve you guys better, because I truly do care about this stuff, that's always more appreciated. But yeah, well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And until then, I'll talk to you guys next time. And now, with the houses, with the planets done, we now move on to the houses and where I get a bit more into the details of the houses too. So yeah. But until then, I'll talk to you guys later, and I love y'all. Peace.